Dada Nastada, Tanshi Buju, Amba Wastich, Ulakut, Okinitsugwa. Bonjour à tous mes parents. Greetings to all my relations. Nitsuano Gabestotipustis. In Blackfoot, thanks to Elder Pete standing alone, I'm known as Abestotispistis, and no, I'm still working on pronouncing it. Means clan leader, he who moves camp and the others follow. In the Tsuut'ina Nation, thanks to Elder Bruce Starlight, who's here with us today, I am known as Itia, always ready, which is not the same as always prompt, just saying. The 2 days in which I was given those names were the most singular honors of my life. The names humble me, and they root me, and they remind me. They remind me of my personal responsibility to our fellow citizens, my responsibility to the history of this place, my responsibility to the future of this place. Today's a complicated day. It's a day, in many ways, of extraordinary sorrow. It's a day when we remember over 3,000 little boys and girls taken from their families who never came home. It's a day when we look with open and clear eyes on the great shame of our nation and of our community. It's also a day when we bore witness to an extraordinary victory song. And it is a day of victory, and in a weird way is a day of joy. Because it is a day when we set out the path towards our mutual future. In order to do that, we have to understand where we came from. We're standing here today gathered on this beautiful summer's day. I don't know what happened to spring either. On the Jack and Jean Leslie River Walk, a place named after two great modern leaders of this place. We're standing on the banks of this river, just a few meters away from where this river meets another, a place the Blackfoot called Mokinstus, the elbow, the place where two rivers meet. And there have always been people here. In biblical times, there were people here. For generations beyond number, people have come here to this land, drawn here by the water. They've come here to hunt and fish, to trade, to live, to love, to have great victories, to taste bitter disappointment, but above all, to engage in that very human act of building community. So every single time I get up in public, I remind people that when we build community today, we do so in the name of the original inhabitants of this land. We do so in the name of the Nitsitapi. It just means the people. We call them the Blackfoot people now, the Siksika, the Piikani, the Kainai people. We do so in the name of the Beaver people, the Tsuut'ina people. In the names of the Stoney people of the Nakota nations, the Chiniki, the Bearspaw, the Wellesley peoples. We do so in the names of the Métis people with their long history on this land. And we do so when we welcome to this place our Inuit sisters and brothers. We welcome Indigenous people from across Canada and around the world who make Calgary their home. In 1867, we created a new nation in this place. 10 years later, in 1877, just down this river, at a place we now call Blackfoot Crossing, we made treaty. We talked about how every one of us was going to live together and was going to share this land. We committed to every single one of us on this land, every single day, being treaty people. And for the last 150 years or so, we've tried. We've tried in this place. Despite our mistakes and our backsliding, despite our errors, and often despite our deliberate choices, we've tried to be a beacon of light and hope in an often cold and dark and cruel world. We've tried. But we haven't always succeeded. And certainly our greatest failure as a nation, is our failure to have included our Indigenous brothers and sisters in the prosperity of this place. And that is why we're celebrating the Reconciliation Bridge today. That's why we are talking about our history with open and clear eyes. That's why we are here together. And you know, I love the fact that every politician now starts every speech by acknowledging the history of the place where we stand. That's a new thing. It's only been a couple of years old, and I remember one day I stood in front of our city council. Oops, I already said that part. I stood in front of our city council and I took a deep breath, and I hadn't told anybody I was going to do this. And to start our city council meeting, I swallowed hard and I did that land acknowledgement, and I realized it just felt right. But too often, when we do that land acknowledgement, it becomes a dusty little piece of history, like we're talking about the past. But indeed, that long acknowledgement grounds us, and it reminds us about what we're building together. And as my friend Harry Sanders, our most beloved local historian, Harry the historian, reminds us, history is not static. The moment in time is no less significant than this moment the bridge was built. We're at a point in time today that deserves a place in our history. And there's a reason it's called the Reconciliation Bridge, rather than giving it an Indigenous name. It's because the name of the bridge is intended to spark a discussion. As the Truth and Reconciliation report says, reshaping national history is a public process, one that happens through discussion, sharing, and commemoration. As Canadians gather in public spaces to share their memories, beliefs, and ideas about the past with others, our collective understanding of the present and the future is formed. Now, Hector Louis Langevin was without question an important figure in the history of this nation. Monsieur Langevin était un père de confédération. Il était le premier ministre des Travaux publics du Canada. Il était certainement le premier ministre du cabinet fédéral qui a visité ici à Calgary. Il a battu fort pour les droits des francophones. Il a vraiment battu beaucoup de travaux publics pendant ce pays. Langevin did a lot. He was a father of Confederation. He was a passionate defender of Francophone rights and the rights of French-speaking people. And as Minister of Public Works, he was the first cabinet minister to visit Calgary, and he was responsible for building much of the roads and bridges and infrastructure that tie us together as a nation. But he also built something else. He was also one of the builders of the residential school system. And a lot of good-hearted people with open minds and hearts wanted to do what was best. And he wanted to do what was best. And in so doing, he became part of our most shameful mistake as Canadians. So this is not about vilifying one person. It's not about casting judgment on history. This is about talking about the future together, about that reconciliation, about that crucial discussion. That when we cross that bridge every single day, as I do every single day, may we just for a heartbeat, just for an instant, think about what reconciliation really means. And think about the future that we're trying to build together. Senator Murray Sinclair reminds us, the chair of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission, that we've not yet turned that corner. But through dialogue, through understanding, through individual and collective leadership, through just talking to one another, we make this community a better place every day, a better place for every single one of us. There are a lot of people to thank, and I want to thank so many of them who've helped get us to this point, to this historical moment, to this joyous day we'll tell our grandchildren about. And I want to say thank you to many of them. First of all, I want to say thank you to my fellow council members, present and past, for their unwavering dedication to reconciliation. A number of them are here with us today. Councillor Ward Sutherland, a proud member of the Métis Nation. Councillor Jeremy Farkas, if you haven't read his very thoughtful piece on reconciliation in this weekend's Calgary Herald, read it. It means a lot. Councillor Diane Colley-Urquhart, who has dedicated herself to building this community every single day, as is Councillor Jyoti Gondek, and I hope I didn't miss anybody, but every single one of them has been here helping us do this. I want to say thank you to people who made today special, to the Prayer Circle elders and youth, to the chiefs who've been there, to the volunteers on the Calgary Aboriginal Urban Affairs Committee that we call CAWAC, to the Calgary Heritage Authority for their work in helping us understand the history and the future of that bridge. Let's hear it for all of those folks. And specifically, I want to thank people who have been working their heart and soul out to make today work for the last 18 months or so. I want to say a special thank you to Kathy Christensen and her staff at Community Neighborhoods. To all my other colleagues at the City of Calgary in Culture and Events and Protocol and Roads, Calgary Transit, Calgary Police, Calgary Fire, all of whom have been here today. So let's hear it for them. When we walked across the bridge in silence today, you will have seen that we were led by 4 young Indigenous people representing the future. Through the help of the Urban Society for Aboriginal Youth, we had these extraordinary young leaders come with us today, and I really, really want to hear it for Noah Wings, for Tani Ver, for Tegan Slay, and for Talia Sandy today. Thank you to our performers, thank you to the organizing committee, and I never, ever, ever thank an incredibly hard-working group of people because they are anonymous in some ways, they stand behind in some ways, but I want to say that this renaming of this bridge, that this event today, that bringing this to council never would have happened without the hardworking people who work for me, who work in the mayor's office, who work with me every single day. So I want to say a special thank you to Scott Dieterle, who spearheaded the renaming, to Nancy Close, who works on Indigenous files every day, and particularly Franca Galtieri, who has been working her heart and soul out in making this work today. Thank you to you. Today, thanks to the tireless efforts of all of those people, we are closer to turning Senator Sinclair's corner. Symbols matter, names matter, and coming together today to celebrate this name on this bridge matters. It shows our commitment to each other. It shows our commitment to moving forward. On a complicated day like today, I think the human heart is very powerful. The human heart is very resilient. The human heart can hold within it those feelings of profound sorrow and of mourning, those feelings of memorial, but also that optimism for what we are building together, that love, that compassion, that kindness, and yes, that joy. Because brothers and sisters, we have so much more to do. We've done the easy parts. Politicians saying the right words, symbols changing. But as we move on this path of reconciliation, we're going to take steps forward and we're going to take steps backwards. There are challenges foreseen and unforeseen that will test every one of us. There are moments when we will doubt that we can do this. There are moments when we will doubt that we're really making a difference and that we're really moving forward. But you know what? Today, we're moving forward. I felt it when we crossed that bridge together. I feel it now in this room. I felt it when we heard that extraordinary victory song. The heavy lifting of reconciliation is in front of us. We got to come together. We got to come together as human beings. We got to come together as nations. We've got to come together as institutions. But most important, we have to come together as individuals. Never, 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 never doubt the power of individuals, the power of every single one of us. Everyday people using our everyday hands, our everyday hearts, our everyday souls, and especially our everyday voices to make this place better for all of us, to move us forward, to create understanding, and to share in the prosperity of this great place. My brothers and sisters, we cannot change the past, but we are not prisoners of it. We are not solely defined by the pain of our shared history, but rather by how we choose to move forward. And we choose to move forward in love and in kindness and in compassion, in a true spirit of reconciliation. Let us cross this bridge together, Indigenous and non-Indigenous peoples alike, to a new future, to a new shore, to a shore of respect and prosperity for all. Thank you all so much for being here.